Just like nightmares, daydreams are confusing but come true. The characters never seem to change, but the vision is always blue. They're just a few minutes of relief in a world full of people who deceive. A tape worth repeating just to help believe that you have a stronger calling than what you see. Daydream me a reality where happiness is more than just an idea, where your mind infinitely and you never disappear. Daydream me a reality that doesn't end with me in a fatality, and you walking away with another piece of me. Daydream me an eternity with no pain and misfortune, a life where I forever got you. Daydream me elevation, to fly and find peace to settle, to live and not just exist in a land of milk and honey, but with no exits. Daydream me a manual so I can understand you better. When I told you I loved you, on God I meant every letter. If all the senses in your heart, then what's the point of living? Daydream me a road, for without you I am so lost, so cold, but only you I wish to hold. I solemnly want to overdose on you, but promise me you'll never leave. Daydream mixtapes.
That was Daydream Mixtapes by Haphazard. He's a good friend of mine. I'll link his social so that you can be able to get in touch with him and see what he works on. He's a very interesting guy. He's a very close friend of mine. We work with together in lots of stuffs. So be sure to check him out on his socials. It's a pretty good song. It's a very low-key, lo-fi music, and that can actually help you in thinking, meditation. For those of you who meditate, it can actually help you so much. So that's one of his projects, and I'll link his social so that you can be able to get in touch with him, in touch with the Haphazard. Welcome guys to another eventful podcasting session with your host, Henry Ogada, and I'm thankful that you're here listening to my podcast, and I would like to thank you for your patience. I know most of the episodes have been far apart, and okay, it's just because majorly we have been I have been focusing on other stuffs, on other projects that I'll unveil to you in a later date. But that aside, thank you for joining me in this podcasting session, and let's hop on to the episode. Today we would like to talk about a very interesting topic that that tend to affect most of us, not just the younger generation, but majorly even the older guys. And the topic of today is about psychological space, or the mental space as we all know it. Well, let's start by saying just that the mental space is where one finds solace or peace of mind. Your head. No one knows actually what's going on in your thoughts. And if you generate a thought, even if it's an opinion that is strong enough, no one can be able to prove it, because no one is with you in your head. Everyone is always alone in their head. And by this, we tend to give more focus on our mental aspect, mental space, psychological space, because our psychological space majorly affects how we carry ourselves out and our day-to-day actions. You might be doing well, let's say financially or socially, but if your mental space is overcrowded, or your mental space is majorly overcrowded, you feel like as though you're living in a tiny apartment with the space the space of only you and your tiny mattress. But if you let yourself not get caught up with your own thoughts, it'll feel like you're moving into a much larger apartment. For thereby we can, let's say, you can be able to invite someone else in. That's because there'll now be room for you and room for other people. You'll have what we call, or what we know, mental space, or spaciousness, as we like to call it. Because majorly, most of the things that we do in our life is ego driven, right? And when I say ego, it doesn't mean that it's someone who's actually so full of themselves. No. What ego means is, ego is anything in your mind or your psyche that tends to make you feel separate from people, from your friends, from even God, right? And if most of the things that we tend to do are ego driven, then what we should strive for is actually being able to help others, right? The thing that I always know, and it's a knowledge that was imparted in me, is that we tend to work on ourselves so that we may be able to help the people closest to us, right? And we can't work on ourselves if there's no mode in which we can be able to improve at any moment, right? The moment you accept where you are instead of wishing that you are somewhere else, everything else will get better. If you're caught up in your own thoughts, it's like living in a small apartment, right? Just as I said earlier. Therefore, the moment you get a little space between yourself and your thoughts, it's just like moving into a much larger apartment. There's space for you, and there's also space to invite other people in. That's the moment where you tend to become more outgoing or more accepting, and you tend to lose the aspect of being reserved, right? You would actually want to engage with a huge number of people so that at least you can help yourself. Working on yourself first helps you to actually identify your strengths and weaknesses. In businesses, we actually call them the SWOT analysis, right? Strength and weaknesses of your company. You should actually majorly or strongly focus on helping and knowing yourself first. Then if you know yourself better and you know your weaknesses, then definitely helping someone else wouldn't be a hassle, because you'll already have gone through the process, and you can advise them on the rightful paths for them to take, right? So actually we just need to focus on how and the best ways in which we can actually create psychological space. And there are various aspects in which we can be able to improve our psychological space. And I know of a few that I'm going to share with you in this podcasting session. and they are very helpful. And most of it, they're actually things that most of us tend to ignore or deal with day by day, and it makes you feel useless or makes you feel depressed in certain ways that will tend to put you down, right? And if you actually focus on these major 4 points that I'm about to share, then definitely it will help you on a big time scale when you want to move on to the next activity or be able to help yourself grow. Psychological space, mental space is a very important aspect in our day-to-day life, because just like I said earlier on, a good mental states mean a healthy life, a happy life. Not necessarily, but it's a beginning to something special within your, or it might be a turning point in your life. And actually, majorly, if we can look, let's say, the psych.org actually majorly defines the psychological space as a space called the lived-in space, and is subdivided actually into oriented space, feeling space, open, all those shenanigans, right? But majorly they actually focus on oriented space, which involves the body relating to physical objects. But that if we head on to such, then we will be moving into things such as meditation and all that. And that's another topic for another day. We cannot talk about meditation today in this podcasting episode, because we wanted to say majorly talk about the mental space, psychological space, and prevent you, the listener, from being a hoarder in your own head, right? Okay, it's not that I'm trying to tell people to have their thoughts to leak out. No, that's not what I don't want you to be able to leak out your thoughts. Your thoughts are private and they're sacred, and your thoughts are the ones that help you improve your reality. But actually, the things that will help you to be able to improve or better your mental space is such as, the first one, we all know this happens in our day-to-day life, and I know if I'm going to mention it still, that those who are going to take it seriously, or those who are going to accept that they've been doing such a thing for a certain time and it has been able to not necessarily derail them, but make them lose focus from their main objectives, right? Okay, we are living in a different generation to our previous. This is actually a generation of the what do we call it? We actually have the Gen Z and the millennials. So, okay, I can say that I am a Gen Z. Yeah, because I was born in the late 90s. And the period of the Gen Z begins between late 90s to the early 2000s. That's where the Gen Z generation begins. Now, I'm bringing this up because the Gen Z are the ones who were brought up by the spur or the great outburst of the internet and technology. Now, that's why most of us and our lives are integrated with the tech world and the social world and the social media world. But this point being said like this is because we have the point of how to be able to help yourself come out of this psychological space or take control of your psychological space is by one, cutting out scrolling. And by scrolling, I it's just as it goes, cutting out scrolling. This is cutting out scrolling on the social media apps, right? Applications. Many of us feel the pressure to remain active on social media, and either for family, wanting to know how we are going on or doing, or for work, or for other promotional purposes. Maybe you have a business, right? You have a business that you want to promote. You tend to be more focused on your social media, right? You should take a break from that. Take a break from that because, it will give you the aspect of you always want to know what's so-and-so's comment on this. And you lose focus on the thing that actually matters, right? By cutting out social media and media time, be it scrolling, reading, or engaging in meaningless dialogue, the time I do spend on social media has become more targeted and intentional, right? I, myself, have cut out such because I would like to focus on my passions. I want to focus on forex analysis, right? And forex market analysis. I would like to focus more on my gym time and improving my health. I would like to focus more on my podcasting for you guys so that I may be able to release new episodes as soon as I can. And I know and I know this is a cap though, but I'm trying my best so that at least both of us can benefit. I may benefit by helping you out there with this insight that I'm trying to give, and also maybe you can also gain the info and also help someone who is in need, right? You cutting out scrolling helps you to achieve the stress-free feeling. The stress-free feeling of that I have to share. I have to you don't have to, you are not a slave. Just know that you are not a slave. You are not bound to be doing certain things just because it makes someone happy or it's what you're supposed to do. I'm sorry to say that, but sometimes, okay, charity begins at home. Your own well-being is the most important thing you can ever ask for. Therefore, you should actually focus on your improvement rather than fast, right? You should actually focus on your improvement first. And then you'll have room to be able to invite other people in, just like I said earlier on when I was talking about this. And knowing that I don't have always to share means that I can focus on time on editing your own story, writing your own story, right? Don't focus on other people's story. Don't always have competition with others. No, just live your life, right? And be the author of how you want your life to be. I can say for me, cutting out begins the moment which I catch myself reaching for my phone whenever I am in a blank space within my mind or I find free time. You see, when you have free time, you tend to want to distract your mind so that it may not always be idle, because an idle mind, right? An idle mind is a devil's workshop, right? But that time that you are not doing anything, you can actually begin something else, right? You can actually begin something important, something in which you can be able to be proud of that. Right, I started this thing, even though it's taking time to materialize, but I know I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for the thrill and the joy that it gives me, and the help that it helps me achieve. Right. So basically, that's how you can do when you want to. That's the first step you can do to be able to improve your mental space. Just cut out scrolling. Okay, I know it's hard for generation, you see, but once in a while, if you begin a habit, you will create a neural path in your brain that you will always have to do this thing no matter the consequences. Because not only is it helpful to you, but also helpful to where you want to be in the story that you are writing, in your life story, right? Yeah, so basically that's the first step. We can also look at another step where we cut out guilt, right? You should actually stop being guilty of anything, right? You see, the truth is, you can't possibly make the best decision for yourself if you let guilt into the driver's seat. Never. That never happens. If you're always guilty that this, I've not done this. Okay. Previously, we talked about, not previously, but like in some previous past episodes that I released last year for you guys, we said that we should be more proactive, right? Procrastinating is not a good thing. We know. But, and we know life is difficult as itself, as you know, and we tend to start something, but if we see it's not giving us the right positive feedback, we tend to begin to another, and you are actually guilty because you know that you actually wasted your time doing the previous activity, which never got you at any point, right? Now, I would like you, as my listener, to be able to cut out that portion of your mind, that guilt, right? Cut it out totally. What it all takes is one voice from the outside giving you a hard time or questioning your choices, and suddenly there it is, right? The thought of you feeling guilty. Never listen to what anyone says. As long as you know the thing that you are focusing on, as long as you know the thing that you're focusing on is for your own benefit, never listen to what anyone else tells you, right? Never listen to what anyone else tells you. People's opinions are their opinions. That's how he sees you in his or her head, right? Which means those are thoughts that are generated by his own mind, which you have no right to be able to accept them just because you have no way to prove that they are right, because you were not with them in their mind when they were generating such a thought. So you should never let guilt be in the driver's seat. Never, at all the times. Guilt isn't something that you can cut out with getting to the roof of why it's there in the first place. I know. For many, and for, let's say, like you, listeners, guilt stems from the misguided desire to please others. Like the people you love and respect or don't want to actually let down. We should never at all try to make others happy just for our downfall. And if you actually you want to make others happy, yes, right, but at the expense of your own happiness, that's not good. That's never been good at all. Making others happy at the expense of your own happiness is never the solution. Never the solution, and it will never be the solution. So no matter what sort of request or pressure that is coming at you, when you sit back and remind yourself that you are only one person, and you remind yourself that there's boundaries needing to your own well-being, then you'll make sure you can be that will make sure that you are at the best of your game, and you can be the best version of you that you can. So basically, that's how you can achieve the aspect of cutting out guilt, to be able to improve your mental space. The other thing that we can also say is, or talk about, or I can also help impart onto you, is you need to cut out replacement distractions, right? If what appears before you seems difficult or daunting, right? It's easy to turn to a task that is controllable or easier. Most of us always want the easier way out. You see this, you say, I'm not, mimi sitaki stress, like you say, I was not born to suffer. Things like those, the things that most people, okay, I know, sorry to say this, but I know most girls, for the boy child, it's difficult because, for the boys, you actually need to show proof. And no one actually cares about your struggles. No one. And no one will ever care about your struggles unless you win. But for ladies, it's easier because they'll get married off. Or unless the lady in question has a different goal in life. A goal to be independent. A goal to be successful by his or her own means. And that's actually the best part. That's actually the best thing that you can do for yourself, right? The best thing that you can do for yourself is actually be the best version of you with your own might and strength, so that after some time you look back and say, I'm glad I made it out. But I'm glad I made it out with my own strength, with no help from outside. Okay, I know. It's not that I'm saying that you can actually be successful on your own. No, you can never be successful on your own. You always need other people. We are interconnected telepathically. You cannot see the connections between people, but the connection always comes in when you know that you need assistance from such and such, because they have a certain skill to be able to perform the task that you have at hand. That's how we are connected. You'll always need help from others. But the thing what I'm saying is the aspect of helping yourself reach to where you want to be in the future. Though it might feel like it's not taking up too much of your energy, whatever the distraction is still demands attention and is most likely taking your focus away from something else. Whether it's time in front of a screen, social time, or even work, that's not crucial at what you really want to accomplish, Identify what it is that you're truly holding you back, right, from your goals, and rid yourself of it, right? Your replacement distractions are spending too much time working on household tasks, quick projects, right, that you can just move on. But rather than putting in the hard focus and heavy lifting it takes to finish one project, which I've started, you focus on that one project that is actually difficult, and finish it. Then move on to the next. But don't start something, then you jump on to the next just because that one was too difficult and you want something that at least is a bit easier and that will get your mind off. No. That's just focusing on the replacements. So you need to cut out the replacement distractions, And that was the third point, right? And you see how we can help ourselves to to free up this mental space so that you can be able to have room to invite other people in your mind, right? We can also say the aspect of cutting out comparisons. Never compare yourself to others. Everyone is different and unique in their own way. I remember saying this one time, that in this life, you should actually do things that are helpful to you in the way that you will feel happy by yourself, right? And I know most of the time when you feel like you don't have a purpose in this life, it tends to make you feel out or not in place. Or it tends to make you feel like the world is against you, you know. But you know, once you find your purpose in this life, that doesn't happen, you know. The guilt aspect doesn't happen. The guilt that we talk about doesn't happen. And also the comparison doesn't happen, you know. But since the social connectedness of the world allows us to see how our peers are doing at any given moment, it's no wonder we get lost in comparison. But still, it's another kind of comparison for either some of you, right? Most of which is actually self-comparison. You know, when you find doubt in your mind, you tend to doubt yourself quickly and slip into a trap of comparing yourself to the past versions of me, right? There's where you get the aspects such as, I feel like I wasted this month, no, 2020. You begin by saying 2022 is your month. Then you realize that, oh, January, I actually never accomplished anything. So my year begins at February. February, probably the same thing happens. You don't, or you're not able to achieve whatever that you desired. You see, we have a story of a person known as Sarah. She was an athlete, marathon athlete, you know. Let's say she ran a marathon, right? And she completed the marathon easily, with ease, beating everyone to just under 2 hours, right? But then again, you know, as time passes by, our bodies tend to give in, throw in the towel, because, you know, this thing happened, or health, or maybe you just know the limitations of the human body. You tend to see that the same athlete, Sarah, can now only run a few miles now, and she's struggling, right? And she was able to travel to other countries because of the aspect of being a good athlete. But you see, now she's struggling, and now she's so nervous. You know, once you start comparing yourself, let's say, to your previous self, to your past self, now every stage of your life is crucial. You move ahead. That was what happened during that time. It was meant to happen. Move on. Focus ahead. Spear yourself ahead. Don't let guilt overcrowd your mind, right? And that's basically how you can be able to cut out comparisons on yourself and also on others, right? Just know that you're the only one worth fighting for, and try to be stronger and better, right? That's how you can escape the aspect of cutting out comparisons. This fifth point is actually an additional point. I know I mentioned 4, but this is an additional point which I can pattern to you, because this is what people or tends to affect most of the people, you see, which is cutting out fear. You need to cut out fear completely from your mind. If you are fearful of everything, fearful of failing, everyone is always fearful about something. We are fearful of failing. We are fearful of not being good enough to the ones we love or the ones that love us, right? And we always want to prove ourselves as being on the top notch or the pinnacle of success, right? So that the people who we love see us happy and we want to make them happy too, right? Look, if I'm being honest with myself, most of my free mental space that doesn't get soaked up by one of the above points that we mentioned, right? It goes straight to fear. And fear is fear is energy. Fear is mental energy. And fear originates from hatred, right? You hate something. Now when you hate it, you actually don't want it to affect you. That's why you are fearful of it. You hate it and you are fearful of it. And if you focus on that aspect of fearfulness, fear is energy. It's mental energy. And the worst part in it, if you give in to fear, it will breed weakness, right? And no one wants to be weak. If you're fearful, you will always be weak. Because look, okay, let's give this example. I'm a heavyweight champion, or I'm a UFC fighter. And I always fear a certain fighter, let's say fighter X. If you're fearful of them, what does that make you? Weak. You're weak. And if once the aspect of weakness has taken the embodiment or the form, mental form in your mind, then that's the end of it. You will never be able to win or achieve something in hand that you can say that you are proud of. You see, you have always to cut out the fear totally, 100%. You see, what I can say is fear is a lie. Fear is a real energy in your mind, but fear is a lie that you are believing. Don't do that. Don't believe fear. And as long as you stop believing in the fear or the lie, you will never be free to have mental space, or you never have mental space and freedom and self-belief that you truly need to gain more or what you are seeking in this world. You see, just design a simple life. One that you will be happy at all times. One that the people even that you love or love you, your family, friends, will appreciate. And cut out all the aspects of comparison. And just form a desired, simple life. Live your best life. But also know that there's consequences in all the actions that you take. All the time that you waste on them, things that don't actually have benefit for you, they will also come. What I actually mentioned in the other time that we were talking about being able to use your skills to be able to generate money, is the aspect of time. Just manage your time in the best possible ways that you can, so that you can truly live a life worth with less, right? Less of the fear, less of the comparison, right? Less of the replacement distractions, less of the guilt, and also less of the time wasting of all the social scrolling or whatever you distracting yourself from, Give yourself more purpose, more experiences with your loved ones, and spend time with them. They can also help you have the positive mental space, and you can also live your best life as possible, and you can stop struggling with such problems or the topics that we have discussed. So basically, it's that those are the things that we need to majorly focus on if you like to improve your reality and improve yourself. All the time, always think of yourself on the driver's seat and know that your happiness is everyone's happiness. So you should actually focus on your own happiness first, and then you can disseminate that happiness to others, right? If you're happy and your loved ones are also happy, then that's the goal. Actually, that's the goal. That's always what we all want to see in our lives happening. And that was the topic of today. The mental space or the psychological space, and I'm glad you reached. If you are able to reach to this point, then I'm thankful for your time. The time you took to listen to me ramble on about mental space. And I'm really thankful for you as my listener very, very much. And I love you. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Game Changers podcast.